Hi. Uh, so, um, so I'm going to keep this like really casual and just basically talk about sort of what I've done between. I'm not going to go as young as you guys. So from like my early 20s till like today, which is I'm around 40. Um, so I did a degree in business. Not because I was particularly interested in business. It was like a natural progression. My dad was a business guy, so like it was like the obvious and natural next step. Graduated, and I think I spent 2 years working in like really shit jobs. So I had this degree. I spent a couple of months selling Mentos door to door, the sweets, door to door in a Mentos uniform, which was really depressing. I worked in the wine industry, which was amazing, but like the cash was like really low. And I remember like sitting down and saying, okay, so I really need to sort of change my trajectory, so like the path I'm going on is not really interesting. So one evening I went on Google and I said, okay, what are the top paying jobs in the world? And two came up. One is becoming a tax lawyer, and the second one was going into tech. So I said, fantastic, let's apply for masters to become a tax lawyer or go into tech. I'm not a lawyer, so tax was completely out of it. Thank God, it was having really boring. Tech, I got accepted. So I had done a degree in business, but because, so right before my exams, my mother passed away, so my results weren't very good. But I did like an MBA qual, which was like a degree which which qualifies you to do an MBA. So when I applied in Oxford to do my master's, they misunderstood what MBA qual mean, and they thought I had an MBA. So they accepted me to do this master's, to the complete paper administration. So I knew nothing about computers, literally nothing. My friends used to laugh at me saying, you're the worst person to go into technology. Anyway, so I did that, graduated, loved it. Then 2008, the crash happened, came back to Malta. So I couch surfed in London for a couple of months trying to find a job. That failed. Came back to Malta and started working for a software development company. And I was sort of the right-hand man to CEO, very small company. There were about 8-10 people. And we grew the business up to about 150 people. And eventually he sold the company, and he made 20, 30, 40 million, something ridiculous. And I couldn't afford a flat. Okay, and that was a huge, massive slap in the face. So I said, okay, so throughout this entire process, I have to make certain changes. We launched a product, and I was starting to get into this idea of building a software product that you can then sell it multiple times. So you build once and sell it multiple times. So I started getting into this product space. I said, okay, so how can I learn about this really, really quickly? So I started to organize events. And this was like in the beginning of social media. Marketing people didn't fuck up social media back then, so like it was like a nice place to be. Twitter was a really quiet place. So my first event was I reached out to the CEO of Microsoft Ventures, so the guy that buys or invests in companies on behalf of Microsoft. I told him, listen, I'm organizing an event in Malta. I have no money. Do you want to come to speak at my event? And he said, yes, I'd love to. So I had a Facebook event, and I had 150 people clicking and going, and 2 people showed up. So this guy flew down to Malta, and it was like really embarrassing. 3 years later, my last event I did was about 600 people. I had big VC names, people from Forbes, Mike Butcher from TechCrunch, so like really, really big names. And 2 things happened from that. Number one is I really built up an amazing network. People who were like really good friends, so I can call them and we can have a chat and talk about ideas. And secondly, I used to organize something called Startup Weekend, which was an event where we basically lock people into a room, literally, for 54 hours, and they have 54 hours to go from an idea to a pitchable startup by the end of it. And you have to build a product and get customers and et cetera, et cetera. And you know, a show of hands, the company Hotjar. Okay, so Hotjar was founded through a Startup Weekend event. So not only did we, I was really hands-on and getting involved in the process, but I sort of really understood the process. And that accelerated this learning about building products and building startups and building teams and all this stuff. So then I said, okay, this is amazing. Let's jump into the startup world. Okay, so up until now, I didn't make any money. So the first job was really poor. I mean, low 20s. From a salary perspective, all of the events, I never made a cent. And now it was, okay, so how do I build startups? Let me start building something which is interesting. I created the Malta's first, or was part of the team to create Malta's first incubator. So we had like 20 startups at university. And we used to basically coach and mentor them, try to find the top 3, and really focus on the top 3 and try to scale them up. And then the bottom 3, we're trying to get them out. And did that for a couple of years. Built some startups myself. I think maybe 3, all failed miserably. And then I met a guy, and he came up to me and he said, listen, I'm the managing partner of BCG Global, so I manage a team of 100,000 people. I want to create a startup in this really cool industry called insurance. I wasn't as excited as you guys are. But, you know, we raised $1 million already. I know how to manage big companies. I don't know how to go from 0 to 1. I'm like, that's what I do. That's my specialty. Let's join forces. Great. So I joined the company. And we basically, this created it was an insurance startup. I knew nothing about insurance. But it was an insurance startup which basically, instead of buying like a home policy and a life policy and a travel policy and all these different policies, which, let's face it, nobody reads your policy document, and you don't really quite know what you protected and what's not. So imagine a world where you can create assignment policy. So a policy which is wrapped around you and your risks and all of the things that matter the most to you. So in order to do that, you have to give advice. So you have to tell someone, these are your risks and these are the protection, this is the insurance you need. Yeah. And giving advice is a regulated activity. You can't just give advice. So we had to create, using AI, this is before ChatGPT, we had to create a machine which would basically understand all of your risks, your financial situation, and tell you exactly what risks you need to cover, from living too long, to losing a limb, to your luggage when you travel, okay? So we did that. We competed our AI versus actual human beings. We beat all human beings in the UK, so we had a huge proof point. The regulator said, yes, fine, great, but we can't regulate you. Anyway, cut a long story short, so we raised about 7 million. We built this huge technology. We then got to Series A. So Series A, we were raising about 35 million, something like that. We had like really cool backers. So we had Berkshire Hathaway, like a Warren Buffett company. So he was a huge backer of us. We had the CEO of Aon, who invested in us as a way of hedging his risks with us. So I had like a really cool backing. Anyway, then COVID hit, and we had to fire everybody because the investors pulled out at the last minute. So we went from 60 down to 4 people, extremely painful. But that got me into the startup world, which is great. In all of this process, obviously, it's tough. And when I started doing events, I met this very German woman. We weren't dating, we were just friends. And she was very German. So she would always like, you know, Simon, what the fuck are you on about? And she was like always trying to kick my ass. And I loved it. Like, I loved the fact that she would like remove all of the crap. And I was like, shit, I'm giving you an answer, but it's a bullshit answer. So I really started to appreciate this concept of having mentors. And until today, I change my mentors. I go through them, not quickly, but I go through them. And they also solve critical sort of problems in the state that I'm in that particular time. Okay. So I think mentors is a huge sort of assistance to go from like step to step, and I have to put it in. So when I was at Sherpa, one of the mentors told me, like, you're really good at execution. So a career has 9 steps. Okay, so the first 3 is execution, going from like junior execution to you're really good at executing, then you have management, and then you have directorship. Yeah, so those are like the 9 steps, oversimplistic, of a career. He said, you've done the first 6 relatively well. You need to expose yourself to 7, 8, 9. And I was like, yes, it's true. I also started seeing, like, there was a set of conversations that I was not privy to at Sherpa, where they were talking about risks, whether they were talking about valuations, whether they were talking about multiples, whether they were talking about things I didn't quite understand. So I put myself out there and said, listen, I need to become a director. So for some reason, I managed to get a directorship on, sorry, my mouth's really dry, a directorship on a board. So I joined a bank, as one does. So the bank, which was a relatively small bank, it was a bank with one client. And we basically, literally one client. So the bank started really cool woman. So an old Belgian family, multi generations of female entrepreneurs, like really kick-ass people. And she went up to the bank, and she used to sell like sanitary ware, okay, so like sinks and plumbing and all this stuff. And she sells to tradesmen, and she wanted to offer favorable terms to these tradesmen. So she wanted a factoring agreement. I'm going to go into the technicalities. And all of the banks in Belgium said, no, like we can't. And so she said, fuck you all, I set up my own bank, which is what she did. And then they had a concentration risk because they had one customer. And then they said, okay, so I came on board to how do I shift from a customer of one to a customer of many. So we created like an API bank. So we do the credit supply, I'm going to bore you. And we do, like, we can plug into third parties. So did that, really, really cool. So between that and the other slide, something else happened. Which is I had 5 kids. What? And it was a bit overnight. So like I went from going like yeah. Yeah, so I went from like startup world, you know, you might not get paid for a few months and it's fine. And like your risk is super high and you're all in and you're living on a plane. And like it's super high risk to you have dependents, yes? So you got literally overnight. So I started dating a girl with 4 kids and then we had 1, so 5. So like my late 30s, I'm like, that's it, I'm gonna be a bachelor for the rest of my life. By 39, I had a family of 6. And now we're 7, so yeah. So I had to de-risk significantly. So I'm like, okay, so I want to fuck just salary. And number 2 is like, I want a bigger stake in a pie. So how do I go from, so my model before in the startup world was, I'll help you get to Series A, I'll help you get to like a 20 million, 30 million valuation or investment. I'll take a tiny piece of the pie and then it becomes someone else's problem, typically the investor, and then I move on to the next one. Okay, and I did this 4 or 5 times. But the problem with that is like you're only as good as the last startup, number 1, and number 2 is once you've passed on, like you've passed the baton, you have no control. So you just get like a quarterly report and maybe they sell the company and you can pay out, but like you have no control. So I wanted to create something that can leverage. I was taking a bit of a like fuck startup world mood as well. So I was at Betson for a while. And one of the problems that I encountered was the outsourcing world. So when you're building a product or you're building something with technology, it is highly likely that you might outsource a component of whatever you build. Okay, so you'd go to a third party and they would either give you bodies or you do a project with a third party company. And in every role, in every company I've always done this, and in every company I've been shafted because they'll like hold your IP hostage, or they'll do something very creative when you need them the most, or because they know you've raised 30 million, then they're gonna up their prices and all this crap. So I said, okay, what if we had to create like an agency, which was my dream agency. While shopping for school lunches for the kids, I bumped into a couple of old guys who I used to work with when I used to work at a software development company 20 years ago. They had a company with 2 clients and they used to wrap themselves and focus on those 2 clients. So we joined forces, and that's Cleverbit. So today we're just under 100 people and we create high performance teams for our clients. And in scope, anybody works in financial services? Okay, so it's like KYC, AML, SaaS. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. So building these two businesses. I'm still at the bank. And I also run a company called Silicon Valletta. So Silicon Valletta it's an association, it's a not-for-profit, and we basically help tech entrepreneurs that have a connection to the island help each other. basically. So there's some fantastic people based over here. People like, the Thor 3D guys that are trying to, change the 3D printing world or going into the machine science world, all the way through to Erge, who is a Dutch guy, lives in Malta, speaks Maltese, and sold a whole product called Copilot to Microsoft. So he lives in Malta. So how do you connect these amazing brains with like the local tech ecosystem? That's what we do. And the next step, okay, so what's the next ambition is trying to learn how to multiply myself. So I'm obviously involved in a lot of different things. I try to focus on making sure that I'm not trying to build a job. So now I'm working with Cleverbit. I don't want to be the CEO. I don't want to be anything. I'm like, how do I build a team, build a structure in order for that business to scale? So I'm very obsessed about making sure that I am become as irrelevant as quickly as possible within the business and just give that direction about being able to step away. And secondly, like really obsessed about surrounding myself with really smart people who are smarter than I, that can help build. And this is what I'm currently sort of focusing. I'm not there yet, so I'm still learning, but this is my current obsession. And then I wanted to close off with like things that I've keep coming back to time and time again, which sort of have helped me throughout the various like milestones and changes in my career. The first one is never be a rocket man. So like if you build a business and you build a product and you build a sales team and you are the only person, you're the man who can go to the moon. So it's a ship of one, you can never grow. So never be a rocket man is always something which I keep getting back to. Second one is being uncomfortable. So as soon as I feel like a little bit of discomfort, I try to lean into it as much as possible. I don't feel very comfortable doing speaking engagements, but I do it as much as possible because it says on the slide. Health. So this is something which is not quite true, but a healthy person wants 1,000 things, a sick person only wants one. So yes, I think health, I live a very stressful and busy life, family and work, so making sure that health is somewhat prioritized over there. And the last one, so this took me a long time to learn, doing business with people you like. And that includes clients. So like if I find a client that I don't quite like, or I find having a difficult conversation is going to be difficult, then like I say no, because otherwise it's just unnecessarily painful. So like these are things which stick with me and they help me throughout my various milestones. And that's it. Thank you.